Welcome back to Pilot Light Your Writing Season 2, the podcast that keeps your creative spark burning. I'm Sophie and today we are zooming in on something small but really important, the scene. You've probably heard it before, start late, leave early. It's one of those golden screenwriting or writing rules that actually works, but there is a lot more to crafting a great scene than just where it begins and where it ends. Great scene has energy, it has movement, it earns its place in your story. So today I want to walk you through what I call the scene checklist. It's a little guide to help you to make every scene stand out and carry real purpose. So first on the checklist, the purpose of the scene. Every scene must do something. So ask yourself, what is this scene here? And what changes at the end of it? Maybe it reveals something about your character, or moves the plot forward, or deepens the theme, or raises a question. But if nothing changes, if the story would be exactly the same without it, maybe the scene might be a bit flat and doesn't need to be in your story. The second thing on your checklist is the character emotion. Before you put them in your scene, they were doing something, your characters. And you need to ask yourself, what is my character feeling at the start of this scene? And then maybe how does that emotion shift at the end of the scene? A flat emotional line equals a flat scene. But if your character starts hopeful and ends defeated, or start calm and ends furious, then you've got a movement. Emotion is motion. The third thing on your scene checklist is the audience emotion. You need to think about your audience. What do you want them to feel? Bear in mind that you're not gonna dictate an emotion. When you plan to write this scene, you probably wanted your audience to feel an emotion. I'll give you an example. Let's imagine that you're working on a project and it's a thriller or a horror movie or a horror story. So my guess is what you want your audience to feel is fear, and you need to scare them. So you need to think about that before you write the scene, and you need to make sure when you read your scene that it's scary enough for your audience to feel scared. Every scene is a little exchange between you and your audience. And another example that comes to my mind is Squid Game. Not all the scenes are about surviving, you know. Sometimes some scenes are about suspense. Others are about empathy. So the audience is constantly pulled between horror and compassion. When you know what emotion you want your audience to feel, you can shape every line, every paragraph, every image, every silence. The fourth thing on your checklist is the visual hook. This is where your scene comes alive. Ask yourself, what's the visual heartbeat of this moment? Is it a flickering neon light? Is it a mirror reflection? Even quiet dialogue scenes need a visual identity, something memorable. Think of films like Brazil, which is one of my favorite films, or another one that I love, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Scenes are full of striking imagery that does half of the storytelling. A good visual hook gives your scene flavor, tone, cinematic weight. The fifth point on your checklist is the verbal intention. What does your character want in this scene, and how do they use words to get it? Dialogue should never, ever just fill the space. It's an action through dialogue. Every line should be charged with subtext. And subtext means something is said, but they mean something else underneath. If you take The Big Lebowski, for example, the comedy comes from verbal clashes. The dude is very funny, and the dude's laid-back attitude and vagueness contrasts with people around him. And in the TV series Joe's narration turns ordinary conversation into manipulation. Words have power. Use them deliberately. Number 6 on your scene checklist is the stakes. If nothing is at risk, nothing really matters. Ask yourself what can be won or lost in this scene. Bear in mind, it doesn't have to be life or death situation. It can be emotional, relational, moral. In Finding Nemo, every small scene, even the funny ones, carries stakes because we constantly ask ourselves, will they survive? Will they grow? Will they meet each other again? So high stakes doesn't mean explosions. They mean consequence. Something must be on the line. Number 7 on your checklist is start late, leave early. Let's go back to that golden rule. Start your scene as close to the action as possible. Drop us in the middle of it. No warm-up, no greetings. Hello, how are you? No. Cut that fluff and get out the scene before everything is neatly resolved. Leave us with curiosity, tension, energy, the best scenes, and just before the next heartbeat. All right, time to put this into practice. Pick one key scene from your story, especially one that feels flat and forgettable. Now rewrite it using that checklist. Give it a clear purpose, an emotional change, and stakes. And don't forget to add a visual hook. Sharpen the dialogue. And on an open note, another trick that you could try, read it aloud. Oh my gosh, this is such a good thing to see if your scene works. Read it aloud. You'll feel the difference. A story is built scene by scene. And when each one has a purpose, emotion, and energy, you're onto a winner there. Don't forget something, writing is a craft. And every scene you rewrite brings you closer to mastery. Well, good luck for this and see you soon for more story magic.